The boys are back with their Honda Monkeys, but this time they have a van load of parts to fit and test. And for anyone wanting to know if VP Race Fuel can take these bikes to the next level, then keep watching. Just to make it a little more interesting, the guys over at WeBike Japan have set them a challenge. Who can build the best 145 4-valve conversion? Want to know who wins? Keep watching.
We're here at DynoJet UK's boardroom. Feels very special, doesn't it? Being in here.
Absolutely class.
Yeah. Got an action-packed episode today. We've got the long-awaited 145 4-valve Takegawa mods to the Monkey, ready to go on the Dyno. But not only that, we've got a few components to try, haven't we? So do you want to talk us through what we've got?
So we've got the 34mm throttle body with the 1.6 injector. We're hoping to see some good gains with that. We've also got the latest exhaust from Overracing, full titanium Serpent exhaust. And Overracing are marketing as competition use only. So let's see what it makes.
Sounds like it's going to be good.
We've got high hopes for it. Hopefully it'll be as good as it looks.
Extremely high hopes.
We've also gone a bit nuts, and we've got some VP race fuel to try. So some C85, which is 106 octane.
It is.
Should be around, well, they claim around 4% increase in power potentially, but obviously it's a small engine, we don't really know.
Yeah, we don't know. It's a complete unknown, and that's the fun of actually testing it and finding out for yourself.
100%. It's going to be a good experiment, isn't it?
So is that something you've never done before, Frank? Put that fuel in a smaller bike?
So obviously a lot of what we do is either on sort of race bikes or road bikes,
yeah.
And because it's what you would normally run, it's widely available. E5, E10, your Shell V-Power, Tesco Momentum if you want a good quality fuel, or just normal pump fuel. That's what we base all our work on. And when it comes into the racing world, obviously you've got race fuel, but in reality, it's not much different from the pump fuel that you get. So we're testing this C85, which is based on an E85 fuel, which is far away from your normal pump fuel. So
85% ethanol.
Exactly, yeah. It's quite commonly used more in sort of automotive and car, high-end car tunings and turbocharged applications and stuff like that. It's something that we've never had the sort of need or someone come to us and wanting to do some testing. So I'm up for it, and
Excellent.
Really looking forward to seeing what it does.
I think for us at Smallbore&More, we just thought that because the mini bike scene so big, why not just try something totally different? You know what I mean? See what the gains are, see if it makes a massive difference. If it does, brilliant. If it doesn't, then it's something we've tried and tested, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of people think, we'll run it on rocket fuel. You pour the fuel in, and and suddenly you gain a load of power. It's quite a tricky thing when you're using a fuel that's so far away from the norm. And hopefully we can prove and show sort of the importance, therefore, of tuning and setting the mapping up and the sort of the ECU settings of the bike for that fuel, because at the end of the day it burns completely differently.
I know when we were trying to source it, so we got it from Overracing over in the northeast. So Jonathan set us up with a couple of cans to try, but it was like, you need to speak to Dynojet. You need to make sure that it's going to be okay, and you can't just pour it in.
You can't just pour it in.
You've got to totally map the ECU.
The difference from, say, your normal E10 pump fuel to, like, say, Shell V-Power, yes, you can just pour that in. It's not that far away. Yeah. Go into, an E85 or this C85, because it burns so different, for sure, you can't just pour it in. On some complex car systems where they've got flex fuel systems in place, and the ECU recognises the fuel or whatever. Fair enough. Not in this instant. So, you know, we need to program the ECU and make the changes because it doesn't know what fuel we're putting in.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that does.
Really good.
But on the other hand, I'm not that keen on running it all the time. I think it's about £9 a litre.
And not just that, it's going to use a lot more.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So from a miles to the gallon perspective, you think it's...
Yeah, so if...
You're going to be able to feed more in.
Yeah, so if you just put an E85 in, you know, the way that we've mapped the ECU, it's not working off any closed loop fueling feedback. It's fully open loop to the fueling that we want. So we're telling it how much fuel how much fuel for the injector to put into the engine for a given throttle position RPM. Now, if you were just to pour it in, the bike would run incredibly, dangerously lean.
Right.
So, just roughly, probably, 30% more fuel, somewhere around there.
Wow.
Not to get too technical and bore everyone, but it's to do with the stoichiometric value of the fuel, which is essentially the amount of oxygen that is required to give a complete burn of X amount of fuel.
I hope that equals power.
Yeah. As far as power then, as you know, we're WeBike Japan partners, so when we reached out to them to buy the kit when it was first available, they thought it would be a good idea if they'd send us another one so we could do both bikes, the red bike and the blue bike, and have a bit of a build-off. So we've got a little bit of a competition going. We've tried to make things as even as possible, so same fuel, same tyres, same tyre pressure, same sprockets, but we'll see if...
the yellow bike needs to win, Frank.
And
I'm impartial.
Everybody knows blue bikes are faster, so we'll see. Yeah, we'll see who wins the WeBike build-off.
But in terms of everything we're testing today, I think it'll give you some good maps, and it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah,
really
we've come a long way from the stock bike, and the beauty of this series of videos, shall we say, it's been one step at a time. So every component's sort of been analysed, optimised. We know what it does, and it's been a journey, and kind of this is the final stage, isn't it? Really, there's nowhere to go
with this particular engine is, I think 145. I think maybe there's some 149 kits over in the USA, but I think the kind of Japanese stuff, 145, the 4-valve head, the bigger throttle body, the bigger injector, race exhaust, fuel.
Yep.
So that's going to be a real interesting one. We'll see what the ultimate... I mean, we're starting off with, I think, was it 9 brake horsepower?
8, I think, wasn't it?
8.7 or something. Yeah. Was our first dyno read, wasn't it? As far as today, we've got the blue bike. That's all set up with the 145 4-valve head, the bigger throttle body, the injector, the Takegawa filter, the over RSR exhaust. But then Simon's yellow bike's the 4-valve head in its kind of stock component. So we're going to test it one at a time, put each component on, and then see what you can get out of it. And anyone watching will know, well, that particular thing, that throttle body give us this increase. That injector gave us that. Yeah. This exhaust gives us this, and I guess it gives you that range of maps that if people...
For sure, and we're answering a lot of questions here. Is a bigger injector necessary? Well, the stock injector is designed for 125, producing, like we say, 8-9 horsepower. The more we're modifying, the more we're changing the demands of the fuel. Is the stock injector up to it? Are we going to max out the duty cycle? Is it too small, effectively? So we're going to answer all those questions.
All that sort of stuff's really valuable information, isn't it? Because if you're buying this off the internet, I mean, again, take WeBike, there's over 2 million parts from in their part catalogue. You need to know, just bolting things on, is it actually going to make a difference? Do you need the tune? Can you get away with it? Can you not get away with it?
For sure. And from sort of my personal point of view, people want to buy a DynoJet PowerVision, but then they'll also want to know your recommendations for what modifications to do, and doing all this sort of work, you can confidently say, yeah, that'll do that. Oh, if you're putting that on, it's best to run this injector, or right, if you're doing that, you might as well do this, or yeah, you'll see an improvement in torque there, but it'll not give you it'll not rev on until you put an intake on it. So you can, with confidence, sort of recommend setups and what modifications are going to do what.
Good stuff.
Brilliant.
So I guess the next step is to get the bikes onto the dyno and
get cracking.
Then. Right, let's go. So far, it's a bit hard at the start, isn't it? Yeah.
So the feeling is good there. I just need to add a little bit more at the top.
So it's a 13.89.
Yes. It's hard to get the fueling perfect in that area where the stock bike doesn't rev to. The reason being, the tables that Honda have written into the ECU.
It's like based on that when you do your changes.
Yeah, but the table only goes up to 9,500.
So that's like total kind
Totally
of
custom.
The unknown. Yeah. So the size of the table that obviously Honda have developed goes to 9.5 thousand.
Yeah.
We're revving it to 11. So basically, it's taking that last value and repeating it.
And you haven't kind of got a starting point really there, have you? Because there's nothing in the
start.
table.
Yeah, well, the
so
start.
You've almost got to like extrapolate the figures. And then
Yeah, exactly. So the starting point will be the value that's at the last value in the table, but then how the bike behaves after that. And then we're relying on that. So basically, I'm just setting it so at 9.5 it goes a little bit rich, and then it'll probably come back right. So we're getting the balance and the sort of the best it can be.
We were just saying there before, doing this process, there's so many pulls on the dyno, like probably hundreds today.
Yes, yeah.
And when we do the video editing, you kind of cut that out
Yeah.
because obviously, you don't watch the same.
It would be pretty boring, yeah.
At the same time, you don't want people to think you just do one pull and that's it.
No. So with all the tunes that we develop, every throttle position across the entire rev range is taken care of. Hence, there's a lot of dyno runs and time that goes into it, because when we look at the adjustments we're making to the fuel table, this is the size of the fuel table, so we've got throttle position against that engine RPM. Now, if we were only caring about wide open throttle, that'd be dead easy. It'd be one run and we'd change this column here, but we're not. We're changing every single one of these columns. And like I say, right across the rev range. So, and for the way the bike rides, you spend a lot of time at wide open throttle on these, but it's just as important at 10, 15, 20%, rolling on and off the throttle, it is a complete tune.
You want it smooth from start to finish, don't you? You don't want any flat spots.
Absolutely, yeah.
From bottom to top.
Yeah, from the moment you click it into gear and pull away to being flat out going as fast as you can, and everything in between, it needs to be right.
Absolutely.
So the reason that I can't reaching it up at that point, and I was maybe a little bit slow trying it twice, is that that's actually maxing the injector out.
Well,
Yeah. So she's good. Basically at 9,000 RPM. That's it. We're putting in as much fuel as we can and maintaining that to the red line. So it goes slightly lean, but not dangerously lean. So you can get away.
That's dead interesting, that, because if you're putting that kit on with your standard throttle body and aftermarket exhaust and air intake, you really need to think about that injector as well.
That injector as well.
And the injector, what we've got, can go in the standard throttle body.
I wonder if it's worth just popping it in. It's only it's like a 2-minute job, isn't it? Is that worth doing that and seeing if you can, and then because you might get the ask for
exactly
for without the throttle body.
For this with the injector.
Price difference here as well, Frank. It's like 330 quid for the throttle body with the injector, or 30 quid for the injector.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Do you want to do that then?
So
just
I mean,
in.
like I say, if you were running this kit, it's fine on that injector, but you are maxing it out, and there is an area that could be slightly better. However, in normal riding, it just about gets away with it. So, that's really interesting that setup is the limit for that injector duty cycle. Yeah.
Well, what are we getting then, figures wise? Just
So do we see 13.8? 13.89.
So 13.89 horsepower and torque.
10 on the nose. Well, 10.01.
10.01, and that's injector maxed out.
Yeah, but only at the very last part of the rev range. So I mean, even putting the bigger injector in might not gain any more power, but I think it's a test we should do.
For 2 volts, twist, pull out, new injector in, 2 volts back in. It's a quick, it's a quick enough thing to do while it's sitting there, isn't it? The next test will be not the bigger throttle body, just the bigger injector.
Yes.
And like you say, I think you'd probably get. That's the next logical step if it does make a difference.
So is this it's a 1.6 injector?
Yeah.
That answers, because we were going to do a test.
We had the conversation before. Whereabouts that injector's what's the limit's going to be?
What's the limit? And we've just found it. So 100%. You're wasting your time running the stock injector with the bigger throttle body with this kit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Be interesting to see if it does change the power in any way. We're putting the big injector in because we can't get enough fuel in.
And will it, say for example, at 5,000 RPM where it was okay, will it
be wrong now?
You're putting more fuel in all the time. And you've almost got to dial it back in the area and increase it in the section that wasn't okay. Right.
Well, it may not actually need increasing in the section where it wasn't okay.
Because it's actually just
it's doing what you've asked it to do, but it will throw the whole map out. So it wherever the bike's running. So I've just guessed and leaned the map off 10%.
Oh, right.
To hopefully be a bit closer than, because we know it's going to be rich. So I've just compared how much leaner I've had to go with this injector compared to the stock injector, and that's the fuel table and the percentage different. So give or take, it is pretty much 60%.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow.
more so at larger throttle openings. It's sort of 40% at the smaller.
Wow.
But yeah, between. So technically, you could just go, take 60% off, and it'd be.
All the previous range.
It'd it'd run.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect that. That's a lot, though, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. Yeah. Cracked 14 horsepower. So that's slightly more power with the bigger injector, but only because where it was going lean, because we couldn't add any more fuel, we're actually going rich now. Like I explained, I've not got the definition in the fuel table to get that perfect, but sooner have it going a little bit rich than a little bit lean, and then that's just picked the power up there at 10,000 RPM. So otherwise, everywhere else, the bike it runs the same with the bigger injector
as it did before.
As it did before. It just obviously requires a much different map.
So we're getting 14.
Yeah, 14.03.
03.
Yeah, and 9.95 torque.
9.95. Which is slightly less, isn't it? But we're talking, that's like nothing, is it?
Yeah, it's nothing. It's just difference in runs. Yeah. But for sure, if you're going to be swapping injectors at any point, you have to have the right. You have to have the right tune and make sure that the tune you're loading into your ECU.
We've seen that instantly. It was small, building like that. Christ.
Yeah. So without making any
60%, wasn't it?
Any changes to the map, we are 60% rich.
That's massive.
Yeah, which is massive. So yeah, if you just put the injector in, it would actually be running richer than wideband lambda sensor will go down to, so it'd be off the scale rich. That's why, as a guess, I pulled 10% out to get us going, which in hindsight was nowhere near enough. But I could see it was just on the scale of the reading, so that's still like 10.2 to 1 air fuel. So based on that, pulled the rest of the fuel out to get it in a ballpark, and then went through and mapped it properly.
Right, so what's next? Next steps?
The bike's off the dyno and yours back on.
Put the blue one on with the bigger injector, the bigger throttle body.
Yeah, so no point in putting a stock injector back into that.
No, while you put the throttle body on this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we'll get a like for like.
Yeah.
Which one's... Is it, and then the exhaust is going on this, is it?
Yeah, so what we want to try as well when the blue one's on is take the Takegawa air filter off, and we've got a bigger intake pipe to go
so literally
from.
just pull the filter off.
Yep.
Put that on, connect it to the DNA. So the DNA is all on the bike.
Yep.
Just literally want to see what you can get out of it,
Yeah.
like it is now with the air filter that came with the throttle body.
Yeah.
And then let's see if connecting the DNA up to it knackers your,
Yeah, yeah.
or it doesn't make a difference,
yeah,
or
yeah.
reduces the power, or gives us more power. And then that'll then determine what we use for the rest of today.
Yeah.
If we lose with the DNA,
We know.
use a Takegawa filter for the rest of the day. If that's no worse, then we may leave that on, because we'd rather run the DNA just for looks rather than...
There's I guess with the monkey bike scene, there's a big balancing act here. It's all about the looks.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're not down here for no
It's
reason.
performance,
You want
yeah.
the performance as well. So it's finding that balance. If you're only going to lose 0.1, 0.2 between the two filters,
you might then say, well, yeah, I like the look of that, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
If you're losing a brake horsepower, then it's a question, then isn't it? You're thinking,
Then
actually,
it's not worth it. Yeah.
I'd rather have the performance over the look. I'll do it now.
The tune that's in this bike, wasn't done on this bike. Similar setup, but with a different exhaust system.
Different exhaust, that's right, yeah.
Yes.
So the
So there are,
RS3, I think they are.
yeah, that's right. So there are obviously slight differences in the exhaust. So
What was the Yoshi one?
We saw 16.2.
16.2, we're getting 16.5. But there's maybe some...
Well, where it's making the peak, it's not too far out, but we'll refine the mapping for this exact setup for this exhaust.
Yeah. And
see if we can get a little bit more.
And then that answers the question, well, you know, what would that exhaust, what could you get if you spent a bit more money on an exhaust?
Exactly, yeah.
Can take it from there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, that's good. It's when you're doubling the horsepower.
Oh, actually,
yeah, 16.5 watt and 9.66.
9.66. I'm going to give him the stats. So, as expected, less torque than that. 9.66, and you were getting 10 with the smaller throttle body. Using Mark's tune, so the tune for the Yoshi exhaust, we're getting 16.51, so he was getting 16.3, so it's slightly higher with the over exhaust on, and now he's going to tune it now.
So you're going to, you
Well,
going to get that one actually, aren't you? You're
I don't think you're going to
halfway
make.
there now.
I don't. Well, no, it was 16.3, and we're 16.5. So you maybe get it to like, I don't know, 16.7 or something like that. You're maybe going to make half, I would say. We'll see.
But that is a relief. If it was 14 horsepower and we were chasing 16, we were scratching our heads, wouldn't we? So yeah, everything's making sense. Always a good day. That's the difference between the two bikes today, so far.
so far, right? So that's the difference between a basically
Throttle body, yeah.
right? It's just
between
it's
4.
the peak, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's
So-
between 4 and 7.
Yeah, so he's making a bit more torque there
Yeah,
with that smaller throttle body. There.
yeah. But
Yeah.
obviously, the difference up here is massive.
Well,
Yeah, so we're gonna run it like this, and then just link
and then
that to
basically
that,
whip that off, put that on,
and see what
and
happens.
see if
Yeah,
it makes a difference. If it doesn't, we'll leave it on. If it does,
yeah,
we'll test everything else with that one left on.
yeah.
Just to keep you interested in what you're doing, that's the difference between the throttle body.
Massive there.
So it is making a little bit more torque, that smaller one, more torque here. But look at the difference there. And Frank's really happy that it's thereabouts. He was like, you know, I'm glad we're not like fucking 14 chasing fucking 16, you know what I mean? So, so 16.65.
No, we'll use that one. 16.59 was.
16.5, yeah.
And the torques come back. Yeah. Where it was a bit lean there,
Yeah.
we've picked it up, so we're at 9.95 on the
Which is pretty
throttle.
much where it was
Yeah.
before, yeah.
Yeah. 8.33 when we started, you know.
8.33.
Yeah.
So 99% more.
And that's what it looks like.
Wow, the difference between, that's definitely one to put on the video, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, that's just nuts, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll show him that. So, competition-wise, that's as much as you can get out of that, you reckon, in that setup? Because when
Yes.
we put the aileron on, that's what it's going to beat, 16.59,
Yeah.
without any loud blips.
Yeah,
I don't want him getting a blip like...
Yeah. We ignore the blips.
Right.
Yeah.
So, whip
So
that
let's-
off,
yeah.
put this on. It's not going to encourage airflow, is it? But you never know, do you? Oh dear.
Yeah, it's killed it from 7,000 onwards. Obviously, I've not touched the tune file there. And yeah, from 7,000 onwards, it has gone rich. So, we can tweak the feeling, bring it back a little bit.
It's up to you.
But it's not, it's not going to...
If you want
It's
to,
good.
if you want to tweak it so you've got a map if someone wants it.
Yes, which is what I'll do if someone wants to run this exact setup. We've got it.
But
But certainly,
we'll be running the. I'm not. you're going to lose 1.7 horsepower for a...
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah.
you want to go back to the...
we'll stick that back on now. Go on.
It has gained a bit. we've gained between 5 and 6.
Aye.
So that's something.
Right.
But
I wonder why that is, huh?
You'd certainly.
Yeah.
You
No,
take.
you want it up there, don't you?
Yeah, you take another one all day long. Yeah, so it must just be restricting it a little bit, not. Especially
If you look
at high RPM.
But you want the air in. If you look at what it's doing, it's coming in 2 areas, 90 degree, going round, doing practically a 180 to go into it.
Yeah.
It was never going to be as smooth as,
we're
as
not
that, was it?
supplying it with enough air.
Be interesting to see the impact of an exhaust that does the same.
Yeah.
You know, I know sometimes a bit of back pressure is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, I mean, especially your exhaust, what you think is going to work and
what actually does.
It doesn't always apply. So
No.
Testing is the only way to find
Yeah.
out.
Well, I'll go and break in the bad news. Don't want to be the bearer of bad news. 1.77 horsepower less.
Massive.
Yeah. He's going to try and get it as good as he can, but he ain't making 1.77 horsepower up like.
Wow.
Goodbye, Dyno. It was nice knowing you.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. I wasn't expecting that.
1.7, like 14 points somewhere there. Have you got any like absorbent rags or anything? Yeah, I'm joking. Just for these tears. I won't write that down yet until we know what it can actually be. Yeah.
Feel it not wanting to rev the last 2,000 RPM.
So what are we saying?
It is being held back, so yeah, 14.85.
14.85. And torque 10 point.
10.07, yeah.
So actually a little bit more torque, but that's because it's low down, isn't it? It was actually a little bit better low down, wasn't it?
Yeah, so below 7,000 RPM. It is better, but
that's just massive, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, and you can really feel the difference when you're doing a dyno running the same gear.
Yeah.
With
how it hangs on.
Takegawa filter on, it just wants to keep going.
Yeah.
And it gets to the red line a lot quicker. Whereas with this, it gets to a point and if you can come on, go. So.
Okay. Never mind, pal, never mind. If there's anyone watching who wants to buy a Dyno filter, there's a good price going on one of them.
The yellow ones are cheaper.
Well, it's a good system, but it's not been designed for.
But no, you're right. I guess it's been designed for a 125, hasn't it?
We saw great results from the DNA as we were. It's only when we've gone these extra steps further that it's, for a start we're revving 2,500 RPM more.
Yeah.
And that's not been developed for that.
So next stage for this bike is that fuel. What map do we start off with then?
Don't know.
We haven't got a clue.
Again, so Yeah, I'll make some changes
Aye.
to make sure we're starting from a safe point. So the tubing for the Takegawa filter,
Yeah.
and just riching it up a lot before we run the fuel, and then see what it's doing. But with the beauty of being on a dyno and looking at analysing everything live, I can start running
And think,
go,
actually,
"Oh,
that's a bit too lean. I'm not even going to
exactly."
bother.
So within a few seconds,
Yeah, you
if
know.
we're not in the ballpark, I'll stop, make a big blanket change, just like we did with the when we went to the big injector.
Okay.
Set it off, realised it was massively rich, leaned it off,
Yeah.
the whole map off. Right, okay, we're in the ballpark now.
Okay.
Tune from a better base.
Cool. So we'll get this off, get the yellow one on, Takegawa filter. There's no point doing the DNA.
Doing the same test again. Yeah.
No. We'll see what power that makes while I empty the tank and put that lovely fuel in. That's just with your map on. That's with my map on.
Aye.
So 16.9.
Well done.
No, the map was really, really close, which is,
Yeah,
I mean, it's a testament to how the quality of all the products and how repeatable they are.
The engine building bit.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
so we've got 16.89 versus 16.59.
We're on two completely separate bikes,
Yeah.
same spec, fueling's identical, and realistically doing this job, you'd say that was the same bike, just two slightly different runs. Yeah, so it's actually nice when
You do get something that's so close.
Yeah.
I guess it gives you peace of mind as well when you're moving a map onto a customer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. If
No fundamental differences at all.
I've loaded the map from that bike into this, it's the same spec.
Yeah.
If it was miles out, it'd be like, oh,
What's
you know,
happened?
and then you'd have to say, well, are they all that different that they all need dyno tuning?
I think the biggest change for me now is to see what that exhaust makes.
Yeah.
So next step then.
I think
Put
put the
that off.
exhaust on. Yeah, it's easier than drain the tank, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'll stick the fan on,
Yeah.
cool this down, so
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah. To be fair, the exhaust cools down really quickly. It's the engine is
We can't do this fuel first, then I'll be doing that. So just stick it over there.
Yeah.
But like practically identical. It's
It's identical at the top, yeah. Don't know, you'd like to think if there was a trade-off, you'd get some back somewhere. You know?
No, I really don't see that.
It's a lot better at 4. Identical from 8.5 onwards, but in between, yeah, it's not making the.
What is the difference if you put like a line there?
Yeah. So 7,000. It's 11.57 to 13.92.
11.57.
Yeah. So 13.12.
It's 13.5% less.
Yeah. And yeah, 8.64 foot-pounds to 9.84.
Same, exactly the same, 13.3%.
Big difference there, isn't it?
Like that's the mid-range as well. You could argue if you flat out high revs, it's not going to make any difference.
That's why you use the Takegawa, isn't it?
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of the time you're not absolutely flat out there. You're riding through that point. But at least you know you can make an informed decision now, can't you? Do you,
Yes.
do you go with the looks? Or do you...
What did you think of the noise?
I was pleasantly surprised. It wasn't overly quiet. Because you don't want too quiet, but at the same time, I find that quite loud.
Yeah.
It's just a different look, isn't it?
You'd be interested to see what it sound like side by side.
Yeah. So, I'll come clean. This is a step into the unknown. I've never done any tuning with E85 fuel. Obviously, this is C85, so as far as I'm aware, it's a more refined fuel.
Yeah.
Than,
It's supposed to be more stable. I don't really know what that means.
I'm sure a chemist, petrochemical expert could enlighten us. Yeah. But it's a fuel produced by VP, which is going to be very high quality. And it's very different from the normal pump fuel that we're used to tuning with. So actually finding out some key properties of the fuel is going to be crucial before we get going. So we need to know the stoichiometric value of the fuel. So essentially, we know how to tune this thing.
Yeah.
So we measure the exhaust gases with a lambda sensor. So we will actually still look at the fuel in a lambda value. So we're still tuning to the same target, but that lambda value in terms of AFR needs to be changed because the stoic value of this fuel is 9.2, whereas your normal unleaded fuel that we run on is 14.7.
Right.
So
Quite a bit different then.
it's a lot different. So if you were to just put this fuel in without any changes to your mapping, the thing's going to run that lean. It's probably just going to melt itself straight away. So
Great. If it all goes wrong, it's on my shoulders.
That'll do for me. Let's go mental then. The other thing is if even this injector is big enough.
Right.
So obviously we know it's 60% bigger than stock, which
it's going to use 30% anyway.
Which it needs for this setup. Yeah. But the question mark on what may hinder us is if we reach the limit of the injector that's in it. But let's find out.
Yeah. I've got to admit I'm a little bit nervous.
I was just about to say, are you nervous? I just hope it smells nice. It's only right, like we saw when we ran the bike with the standard injector and the standard throttle body. It was only that last sort of 1,000 RPM that the injector was maxed out.
Yeah.
We're in the same boat. So it is just going lean right before the red line. But we've already found a little bit more power. And we've not finished messing.
Right.
That's the difference up to now. So the red on the race fuel, and the blue is where we ended. So you can see it's again around 10,000 there, whereas the power would carry on, or maybe even pick up. So it's fine if you don't rev it to the red line.
Yeah.
But it's actually picked up everywhere already.
So for this particular map with that particular injector, would you cap the RPM limit so you know you can't get into that lane?
Exactly what I do.
Yeah. So as far as timing, then so would it be if it's more resistant to?
Yeah, in theory we should be able to advance the ignition.
And what do you reckon that's going to do? Literally don't know.
Test it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just in very small, safe steps. Yeah. But if so I've advanced the ignition 2 degrees now. If we don't see any significant change, we know.
Then you know it's not really going to.
Yeah, we know we're in the ballpark with the ignition timing as it is.
Timing advance then?
Yeah.
Right.
So it has responded.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit better.
That's 4% from where we went. So it's
That's
nearly
what we said the fuel said.
It's nearly there, isn't it? Like nearly,
And it's right across. It's right across the rev range.
Yeah. 3.25% increase.
But the peak power, that's where it's running out of juice. So,
how many degrees advanced was that then to get that changed?
2 degrees.
2. So what would happen if you took it another 2 or a 1 or a?
I'm just going to just do it right at the top here, just to see what it does. Yeah. But what's the difference there? So from 14.83 to 15.7.
5.8%.
Yeah, so it's picked up 5% there.
Yeah.
But where it's making peak power, like say if I had a bigger injector, it would make more.
Yeah.
So all my research about the stoic point and was right that it was somewhere in the ballpark to begin with.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be
miles away on the first.
Spending all day running it because I know how much it would cost you in fuel. But yeah, you've got to be careful with your ignition timing as well as you have with your fueling. But if the risk of running too much ignition advance is that you'll get detonation, and that can lead to melted piston hole in the piston, damage to the engine.
How do you know that's happening?
So you could look at stuff like cylinder pressures and things like that. Obviously, we've not got the capabilities of doing that. So it's firstly you trust what Honda have developed because they've had that they will develop something safe. So we're never too far away from that. But we know that we're on a lot better fuel than it was designed to run on, which gives us scope to change it.
80 run as it or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's designed to run
on average, really average fuel.
Yeah,
to make sure it's
exactly, because you get different sort of grade fuel in different countries and stuff, and it's a mass-produced bike. Experience-wise, you can you can tell if you're losing power. You'd lose power, or say if
you'd see
you'd see it in the power curve.
the knock or the detonation happening because you'd lose power because of it.
Yes,
Right.
or because it's over advanced. So if you retard the ignition and it doesn't lose any power, that'll tell you it doesn't need that extra advance in there. So you'd run it as safe as possible. Yeah.
So if you advanced it and it didn't make any difference, you just take it back to what it was.
Correct. Yeah. But I actually think that's a really good gain out of the fuel.
Yeah, like what did we say? It was over 5.8. It's nearly 6%. It's like half what you've lost on that.
Yeah, that was going.
Is that good enough
No.
to do £9 a litre?
It isn't. And the rate it's going to swine it.
Yeah, that's
It's probably more like
We've got-
£14 a litre. equivalent.
yeah, equivalent.
It's
Yeah.
gone from getting 110 mile out of a tank, maybe more. Probably about 60 mile out of a tank.
Interesting to see how much you get out of it.
There's one thing for sure, and if I'm running that, I'm running it on that exhaust. I ain't wasting it on that exhaust.
We've already started talking about custom tanks that are a bit bigger.
Yeah. That I'm happy. Yeah. Yeah. So that's
17.65.
yes.
Yeah. Alright.
So you see the quote 4%.
Yeah.
That's a lot more than that.
Obviously, it is impossible for him to quote.
That'll be an average, won't it?
It'll be an average. I don't know if that's taken into account that you can run a bit more ignition time in, or if it's just kind of a like for like, refuel it for that fuel and you'll gain 4% just from that. But there's more scope to be gained from mapping. But it's reacted really well.
6.38, 6.4%.
And it could actually be even more if we could rev it.
Get that injector. Yeah, because that could still.
It could, yeah. You'd think it's going to level off at that.
Squeeze 18 for a course with a 1.9.
That's been more successful than I was anticipating. I thought we'd all get excited about some race fuel. It should be better. How's it going to react to a Honda Monkey? And we could go through everything and it'd be the same. But it's not. It is better.
Yeah. No, that's a good lift, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
17.65 and 10.29 torque. So that's the highest torque we've seen as well.
It is, yeah.
Question is it worth £9 a litre using 60% more fuel?
And no.
Because it's maxed out versus what it.
Yes. So the way I've had to map it for this fuel, it has worked out on average, because I can compare the tune files.
Because it's not maxed out the whole way up, it's just.
That's it. But
it leans off.
Yeah.
It
So
tails off, sorry.
between 30-35% more fuel.
More fuel.
And I guessed at 30 earlier in the day.
That's a good guess.
It's amazing what you can find on Google. So yes, it's going to use more fuel.
So £9 a litre plus 30%. There's no one buying this fuel. £11.70 a litre.
But If you were going to drag race this,
One of the 5 litre tanks.
Alright.
50 quid to fill a Honda Monkey. As opposed to £5.40.
Like 10 times so much,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, here's much of that when it runs out. Brilliant experiment.
yeah,
Class.
yeah, it's been really enjoyable to actually do something a bit unknown and something to get your teeth
Outrageous.
into, and
So, should we go and get a warm and just go through the day to have a bit of a debrief?
Yeah.
See what the next steps are.
so I'm a bit cold now.
Right.
Brill.
So, long day.
10 hours on the dyno we've done.
10 hours. How many runs do you think we've done?
I don't know, best part of 1,000 probably. It's got to be up there, yeah.
It's got to be, feels like that, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's been pretty cold towards the end of the day.
Yeah.
We've gathered some brilliant learnings, stuff I didn't expect, stuff that's really surprised us. Definitely been beneficial. Definitely.
100%. And I think to see the gains each individual component made is the biggest learning, isn't it? Yeah. And there were some surprises there, wasn't there?
There was.
So the plan or our order that we were going to do stuff kind of went out the window when the injector ran out of...
When I ran out of duty cycle effectively. Didn't really expect that with it having the standard throttle body on. Thought when we went to the larger throttle body, we'd struggle with the standard injector. It wouldn't be big enough to deliver the fuel we want, but we quite quickly came across that hurdle just with the standard throttle body. So that was a test that was unexpected to do so early, because we thought we'd be doing that with the larger throttle body. But that answered the question, would the standard injector be fine with the larger throttle body? Clearly no.
So that was 13.89 horsepower. We nearly bang on 10.01 torque, foot-pounds of torque. But that was the injector maxed out. So new injector put in, that got us 14.03 and about the same, 9.95, give or take.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
bit of measurement error there, but that's that was the 4 valve with the standard throttle body, the bigger injector, the DNA filter running on 99 RON
Yes.
pump fuel. Pretty decent tune, nice and smooth.
Yeah, and the biggest thing that we'd found there with the 4 valve head, that because we can rev it so high compared to the stock head, we're sort of 2,500 RPM more, and impressively the bike uses all those revs. The power carries on right to the red line, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I guess that means we can hang on to that power right at the very end. You're not
Yeah.
sort of
Exactly, you're not naturally
revving it for
either
minutes,
either wanting to change gear because it's not accelerating anymore. It will pull strong, so you will go faster.
Then it was onto the blue bike. So again, 4 valve head, 34mm throttle body, the 1.6 injector, the Takegawa air filter on 99, and that was with the previous tune you'd done, so it was for Yoshi exhaust.
Yes.
That got us around 16.5. Dialing that in through the PV3 process, that got us slightly higher, so 16.59. So the top horsepower from the blue bike was 16.59 with 9.95 foot-pounds of
That's
torque.
right, yeah.
Which is it's a fraction of being doubling the horsepower.
Yeah, it, for all intents and purposes, that is doubling the horsepower of the bike. And also at this point, might add the most powerful that we've seen on the dyno.
100%. Then it's over to the WeBike challenge, I guess. Which builder built the best engine? Well, sounds like that award goes to Simon. So the yellow bike actually got up to 16.89. So about just under 2% more power than the blue bike, but a pretty similar.
Very similar. The fueling demands from both bikes were the same, testament to the quality of the products and the quality of the build, that they can be so similar. And
16.95, 16.89. It's close.
It's close. Yeah.
But there can only be one winner.
Yeah. Is there an award or a prize here?
We'll have somewhere.
I think for me today to see the differences, like James says before, in the components, to be able to just go to the workshop and swap them over and back on the dyno has been absolutely priceless. And it, you know, the information and the data backs it up.
And like I say, a massive thanks to WeBike for helping us out with that second kit.
Yeah, it
You
does.
know, that really has helped us understand, you know, from a consistency perspective, it's there.
Yes.
You know, you can pull a kit off the shelf, put it on your bike, use this map, and you know, for within an inch of its life, exactly the same result.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know that's really positive. So yeah, shout out to the WeBike guys. Again, give them a shameless plug, but 2 million.
But they deserve it.
They do 2 million parts.
Yeah.
You know, for various different motorcycles. You can get it. Okay, they're in Japan, but 3-day delivery.
Yeah, the
We,
distance isn't an issue, is it?
We ordered a part last Friday.
It was, yeah.
Came on Wednesday, so 2 and a bit business days. Fantastic service, so big shout out to those guys at WeBike. And then we got on to the interesting stuff, I guess, the stuff that we've never been anywhere near, the VP race fuel. That was a bit scary for me at one point. I'm thinking, oh my God, is this just going to blow my bike up?
Well, no, you had no reason to, to be worried, because at the end of the day, it has to be a better fuel. It's specifically made for performance application. It's not a mass-produced product like the fuel you'd get at your fuel station. We'd done our homework enough that we could roughly make a safe starting point to run the bike, and then dial it in from there. And it actually went better than I thought, because you never know. I've tried different race fuels in the past, and people have been disappointed, and this really actually exceeded expectations.
I guess there's always that risk, isn't there, that you spend a lot of money on fuel, and there's that expectation that, come on, Frank, you need to make this work.
The pressure's always on me. Yeah, the one twisting the throttle.
Yeah. So figures wise, we went from 16.59 brake horse to 17.65. So I think VP were claiming around a 4% increase. We've nearly got 6% there.
Yeah.
So not just fueling, but a bit on the timing as well, advancing the timing.
Yeah, so we were discussing where that 4% had come from, and that has to just be a blanket across the board, whatever application, it's going to make it better. But they don't know how you can, how it would allow you to, say, dial the ignition in a bit more, and how it's suited to whatever engine. So you'd like to think they err on the side of caution, because if someone says you're guaranteed 4%, it actually means it's at least 4%. So we did find more from the fuel.
Yeah. And the smell of it's
lovely.
Sweet. Really sweet.
Yeah, fruity.
We've got some questions over the components and the compatibility with the amount of ethanol that's in there, but I guess time will tell whether they sort of stand the test of time on that. We will reach out to Kitaco, so by the time we post this video, we'll hopefully have an answer as to whether that injector should stand up to that type of fuel, and we'll put a link in the comments to whether that does or not.
Yeah, and talking of injectors, that was another stumbling block we found with the fuel, because we had to basically inject a lot more fuel than we were before, even though the spec of the bike was the same. It's just the fuel that we're changing. We found that we had to up the sort of fuel quantity around 30-35%, which then did take even though it's a bigger injector, to its limit yet again. However, just at the final part of the rev range, so 10,000 RPM, which why you'll see on the graph the run was ended before the rev limit, because we don't want to be running too lean up there.
So we can sort that. So there's another couple of injectors bigger, at least bigger than the one we've got. A 1.9,
1.9, 2.3.
2.3. So we've got some options there. Probably something we should answer at some point
Yeah,
in time, I guess.
no problem.
Part 2.
But I think as far as modifications to the JBO3 engine platform, I think we're about as powerful as we can pull out of that.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go from here.
Yeah.
To double it from the
To double it from
125.
8, yeah.
So we've done it in a short space of time as well.
Yeah.
And it's not like we've doubled the size of the engine.
Absolutely not. No. It's through testing the parts and obviously finding the best route to get what we've got today. So
Yes.
it's been a good journey. Long may it continue.
I'm looking forward to getting out and riding the bike. Let's hope it's not pouring down tomorrow and we can get some miles on it and see what it's like in real life. So yeah, long day, 10 hours. Well, how long?
10 hours. 10 hours. Yeah. 10 hours we've stood in the dyno room.
But it's been worth it.
It has been.
And we've answered every question that we had. And yeah, we've actually got through a lot of work and achieved a lot.
Yeah. No, it's been a good, really good day.
As far as getting your hands on this sort of kit, again, if anyone hasn't seen our videos or the links, it's directly from yourself, DynoJet UK.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, we'll put a link in the description so people can find the PV3, they can find all the components that we've used, and have a go themselves, I guess.
That's it. Yeah.
Share the joy.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. So, yeah. I think that's another good
It's
day.
an emotional end to doubling the horsepower of the bike. Yeah.
To a crazy Honda monkey build.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that also says thanks for us. We've really enjoyed doing this.
Again.
Getting access to DynoJet UK. I mean, who gets that? Who gets that access? So to offer that up to us, Frank, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I've loved every second of it, and
So.
rarely do I get to be involved with a project where we're doing everything so in detail and in such a structured step, and the way that you explain it on your videos is just perfect. And you've been a godsend to all small capacity Honda owners throughout. I was going to say throughout the UK, but no, throughout the world.
Yeah. Global superstars. On that note, thanks very much. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yep, cheers.
Perfect, thank you.
So we did reach out to Kitaco to ask them whether their injector was compatible with VP C85, and they sent us this response. Unfortunately, our injector and inside O-ring is not resistant to any race fuel. Thank you for your YouTube video always. Which is nice of them.
Right. So what made us think was, whereabouts are the O-rings at? And
Yeah.
can we replace them for something suitable?
So we've stripped them down, tried to deconstruct the injector as much as we can, because there's the two O-rings on the outside. We're thinking, well, what's an inside O-ring? What's going to be in there? And couldn't really find anything from an O-ring
After
perspective.
10 minutes of grinding an injector in half.
Yeah, we couldn't really see any O-rings inside, so it looks like we just have to concentrate on the outside O-rings. And
They're dead accessible as well. It's literally the injector out the throttle body and your bottom O-ring and top O-rings really to hand. So it isn't a big job to change them.
No, and you should be able to see pretty easily if they start to degrade, so either brittle or cracked or leaking. I mean, you don't want it leaking fuel down the engine right onto the exhaust, because that's not going to end well. But at the same time, it should be pretty easy to see. What I would say though is, if you're going to try using VP race fuels, probably best to drain the tank if you're not using it, so it's
Yeah.
like sitting in there
Yeah.
and just flush normal through.
I mean, you've got to remember, you're not going to be running race fuel day in, day out on your bike. If it is for just a weekend bike meet or to get that fruity smell,
Yeah.
then yeah, it isn't something you're going to have to keep an eye on too often.
So onto the Serpent exhaust then.
Lovely looking exhaust, just disappointed where I didn't want to be disappointed at.
I guess, like you say, it looks beautiful, but we lost the load in that mid-range, didn't we?
We did.
You've been out on the road with it.
Yes, there's a difference there. You know, we tested them back to back. I jumped on James's bike, he jumped on mine. There's a noticeable difference, but it's at the point where you can balance it off for performance and looks. It's not a massive difference. So I guess, you know, if you're going to go down the Serpent route, then it's a decision whether you want the performance or the looks, but you're not losing a massive amount of performance. I'm going to keep the Serpent because I just think it looks, you know, quite different to what you see on monkeys these days.
And I guess the whole monkey bike itself's a compromise, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not built for performance, is it?
No.
We're doing this for a laugh and, you know, just to try and get the most we can out of a bike.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's a balance between that. You know, do you like it? Is it something that you like the look of versus an all-out performance?
It's customising the bike to your taste, and
Absolutely.
that's what the full scene's about for me.
So what's coming up on the channel next? We've got the actual build video of the 145 4-valve head, the step-by-step kind of close-ups on building the engine and what we've done. So if you're thinking of going down that route, be a good video for you to watch, see exactly what we've done, how we went about it.
It's a really informative video as well, because if you've seen our previous videos with the Kitaco and the Takegawa 145, just using the 2-valve head, there's a little bit more in this, James. We're looking at the cams, we're looking at the decompression lobe on the head. There's a few little bits more, so
Yeah, there's a few fiddly bits. isn't
yeah,
there? But
so hopefully it'll help the viewers out.
So what's the next mod for this bike? Well, we've got the Nemoto fork bottoms, billet aluminium. We're going at the bottom of the Orleans forks on the front.
Machine marks on them are really, really nice as well.
They are a nice bit of kit, aren't they?
Beautiful.
We're looking forward to getting that on. Not really sure how it all goes together yet, but I'm sure we'll figure it out. And then we've got the Sunstar G-Craft collaboration, the new 250mm floating disc setup.
Yeah, this bike needs the bigger brakes, doesn't it?
Well, it does now, it's got all this power, definitely. But yeah, nice bit of kit. Finished off well.
Yeah, it
Looking
is.
forward to seeing what that's like on the bike and seeing how it performs over the standard sort of size disc with the Brembo caliper.
Lovely detail in that.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
So, if this is something you want to watch, you know what to do. Like and subscribe.
We'll catch you on the next one. Take care.